Man, on this Friday afternoon matinee edition of the NBA Report. On today's show, we're going to preview Game 4 of the NBA Finals between the Nuggets and the Heat, man. Have the Heat ran out of options? We're going to talk about that with today's guest, Crossover, Jamal Crawford, on the show, reporting live from the 305. Also, we'll talk about the latest NBA offseason rumors and news, and we'll take a look at that 2019 draft class, man. Zion and Ja and the news. We're going to revisit that 2019 draft class, man. So lock in, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Another one for the NBA Report, man. CP the Franchise, Alex Rotaros, JC, how you feeling, man?
I'm great. How you doing, bro?
Good, man. Always a pleasure to have you on the show, man, and we definitely appreciate your time. Down there in Miami, Nuggets up 2-1 in the series, and in Game 3, we saw what might have been one of the best two-man games, I mean, in maybe finals history or in a long time, between Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, man. Two players with 30-point triple-doubles, just absolutely dominant in that Game 3. Mike Malone took him to task, wanted the whole team to play better after they let down in Game 2, and their two stars responded, man. What did you see out there from Jokic and Murray in that Game 3, man?
They were dominant right from the start. Obviously, Miami got off to a quick start. And then Murray, he's that guy that when he's making tough shots, it settles everybody else. And he kind of kept them, weathering the storm. He provided points. He kept them in the game until they found their rhythm. Then Joker took over. And when those two got it going, like you said, it's becoming legendary. You know what I mean? So for those two, I think you'll see more of the same. But I think Miami will make an adjustment, maybe to play more zone, maybe to, say the other guys, you two proved you can beat us. The other guys have to prove they can do it. So I think you'll see adjustments. And for some reason, I think Miami wins tonight.
From one bucket getter to watching another, man, just watching Jamal Murray out there, I mean, just absolutely cook. I expected a big game out of him in Game 3 after, Game 2 was kind of quiet until the end of Game 2, but in Game 3, he just erupted. I mean, what is it like when you see a guy like that get into a zone? What is that like when you're out there on the court, man?
Yeah, it's crazy because that person becomes a bigger monster. You know what I mean? It's like they start growing and become from 6'5" to 7 feet because they just become dominant. And when he makes the tough shots, he feels like he can make anything. Like he never loses confidence. He never wavers. Kobe is his favorite player ever. So obviously, you always try to emulate your favorites, but he really believes it. It's not like a fake confidence. Like he's really going for it. And for him, he's the head of the snake for them. He gets them going, scoring wise, and they get in their rhythm. Joker gets involved. He gets everybody else involved. And then that's when they're off and running. I think he has to be the focus. Joker is who he is. You're not going to stop him. You can only try to limit him and contain him so much. But Jamal Murray's the head of the snake when it comes to scoring because Joker don't want to score like that anyway. Like he's trying to get 15 assists, 15 rebounds, and I'll just fall on 30 points. Like he's not trying to go get it. So that's what makes him so special. But Jamal Murray's definitely the head of the snake.
Now, Jay, crossover, man, I got a question for you about this performance that we saw, right? Because we talked about the two guys, Jokic and Murray. Do you think that this is what they have to do on a nightly basis in order for the Nuggets to win the series? Or are we looking for, or are we going to see more of like the role players come through?
Well, I think that depends on how Miami adjusts. Like if Miami plays zone from the start, it's going to have to be the role players because obviously Denver will probably counter that by putting Joker in the middle, but that's still him taking 15-foot shots when nobody else is touching the ball. Joker doesn't want to score like that. When he scored 40 and had 4 assists, he probably felt like he's being selfish. You know what I mean? So he doesn't want to score like that. So if you're making him a scorer away from the basket, I think that bodes well for Miami. And it takes Joker and Jamal, that two-man pick and roll that's so deadly, right? But the other guys will have opportunities. It's more so if they'll make shots. Michael Porter Jr. has to make shots. Aaron Gordon, has played at a high level. Jeff Green's been a great piece off the bench. So it's about the other guys making shots if that's the road Miami wants to go. And if I'm them, that's the road I'm going. Because these two prove that they can carry a series. They've been number one all year. But these other ones, not that they can't prove it, but I think I'll take my chances with them making shots consistently.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Michael Porter.
No, go ahead.
You mentioned Michael Porter Jr. I'm also looking at KCP as well. What would you say those two guys have to do in order to get back into rhythm?
Yeah, I think Denver's at their best. To me, both these teams play true basketball. Like they play real basketball, how you would teach kids. I coach kids, so I know as far as how I'm trying to implement what we do. I don't want to always just get in your bag. I want you to play with the team. And these two play the highest level of team basketball, Denver just maybe play a higher level of what Miami does, right? Because they have those pieces we talked about. So for me, I think if they get stops, they get out and run, you get KCP an easy layup. You get Mike Porter Jr. an easy layup. Get him to the free throw line. Once you see the ball go through, if you're a shooter or scorer that one time, two times, now in your mind, you're hot. It puts you back in rhythm and kind of resets you. And I think that's what those two they look to do. Get some easy ones early.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned those two guys. Those two guys have been struggling from three, but luckily Aaron Gordon has chipped in. I like the way that Denver got back to utilizing their size to really take advantage of this game. You see Gordon and Jokic get the rebound, be a one-man fast break, pushing it ahead, getting guys involved. They did a good job of sealing against smaller defenders and really establishing themselves in the post. And then you got a Christian Brown who didn't play much.
Was he playing like Dirk on the blacktop playing with y'all? He playing with
playing with force, man. I like the way he attacked that game and not settling for, the corner threes and really finding the gaps in the zone, making a good job of cutting and then finding him, man. What was your impression of Christian Brown in game 3?
That he's fearless. Like he plays like he belongs out there. And I asked him, we had him on the set, and I asked him, was there a certain point in the season when you kind of knew you gained your teammates' trust? When you would be out there for these moments. And he was like, yeah, I could kind of tell, everything was built with good habits. And those habits, are carrying me right now. So for me, it's no thinking. I'm just out there playing. I'm out there hooping, trying to help the team win. And he's giving them a great lift. You have to, his energy is worth more than just points. He's out there. He's flying around. He's being fearless. He's attacking the basket. He's attacking the rim. He's attacking rebounds. Like he's just out there playing. He's out there in the finals game, in the finals series. I think that's big time.
Yeah, I said when you watched him play, it felt like he was, even though he had 15 points, it felt like 30 just because when he stepped on the court, he's just tenacious.
Absolutely. He'll keep going, and they have to somehow get a hold of him because he's not a guy you're going to run offense through, but he's a connector. He can fill in the gaps. He can play with stars. So the stars want him out there. He's going to run. He's going to sprint the court. He's going to dunk and look at the crowd and tomahawk. You know what I mean? So he got some swag with him too.
This is the NBA Report. So to everybody in the chat, man, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Special guest Jamal Crawford in the building, reporting live from the 305. And speaking of Miami, Jamal, I just felt like in this series, because Denver's a better team, the more complete team, you really need everything to go right for the Miami Heat. That three-point shooting has to be there, especially from their role players. Vincent, Strus, and even Martin weren't themselves in this game in game 3. Butler and Bam have been able to carry things, but it almost seems like I don't want to say they're out of options, but when Jokic and Murray are cooking in this way, Denver shot 29% from 3, but still dominated, especially into the paint. I mean, how does Miami get themselves back into this thing starting tonight?
Well, if I'm Miami, I'm saying, you know what? We're going to play our zone more on defense. On offense, we were right there. Like, it was a 4-point game in the second quarter. It was tight the whole time. Yeah. And something that was small, but to me it was big, and I said it when it happened. When Gabe Vincent got those back-to-back fouls, I would have challenged the second one. I just would. I know
the one on Aaron Gordon.
Yes, and the one he got the second one on Joker though.
Okay. Yes. It
was like in a 10-second span, he had 2 fouls, and I would challenge the second one. And I know Spo was thinking it's going to be a tight game, we'll need that challenge. But Gabe Vincent brings so much to you offensively. Right now, he can account for 5, 6, 7 points, a couple threes, a layup. He can get you 8 points right here that you may not need on the back end, and it keeps him in rhythm because he's one of their guys. They need him going. He's their pistol starter. He got to go. And so if he's not going, it's going to be tougher on you. And don't forget, they still have that Tyler Herro card in the bag. Who knows what that looks like. So, I think Miami pulls it out. I think they'll be in a better rhythm today. I think Jimmy will be more aggressive. And it's not all bad. Like, obviously, it ended up being a bad game in the fourth quarter. But in the third quarter, really got away from them. Fourth quarter ended up being a bad game. That second quarter, that first 2 quarters, it was tight.
Do you think Herro makes an appearance at some point this series?
I believe so.
The whole thing is rhythm, everything. You don't want to throw off the whole chemistry.
Yeah, but the thing about it, Alex, is the fact that he's doing something for you guys because he's coming back to your team. But don't think they're not playing out that emotion too. Man, if Herro comes, how are we going to prepare for it? Ain't nobody seen him in a while. We know he's a bucket. We know he can get going. What if he comes out and gets you – don't say he doesn't play a lot of minutes. What if he comes out and gets you 8 points in 5 or 6 minutes and gives them a lift to give them confidence, to get them back on track? like that's a weapon. And I'm not saying you use that weapon at all times and you mess up anybody else's rhythm, but you guys know in the playoffs, something can happen in the regular season, and you're like, man, why am I not playing? This dude's shooting all the shots, whatever. Playoffs come, and that dude get going, you're on the bench standing up. You don't even know how you got there, but you're just happy for your team. Let's get it. Give it to him. Let's go. So it's more about winning whatever it takes to win at this point.
Do you think, Butler had 28 points in this last game, and I think throughout the series he's been facilitating well and really just trying to get others involved and really trusting his teammates, especially after game one. He went right back to him in game two and was rewarded. But do you think there's another level he may need to get to help this team win, especially when you just don't know what you're going to get from, Vincent has been pretty good in this playoffs, but you never know from role players, from a Vincent to a Martin to a Strus. Do you think Jimmy has another level he can get to really help carry the load for them and get them over the hump?
He definitely has another level. I think you'll see it going forward. Jimmy, I played with him a year in Minnesota, and what I learned about him was, for as big of a superstar as he is, he's just as happy being unselfish. And I'll be robbing. I'm not tripping. It's all good. I'll fill in the gaps. Don't forget, Jimmy was like a JUCO kid. Like, he came from the JUCO. He came up the hard way. It wasn't like he was a prodigy from fifth grade. Like, this dude's going to be a superstar. Like, it was like, nah, he did it ugly. He got it out the mud for real. So he that's his foundation. That's who he is. So he'll turn it up for sure. And then the other guys will play better because of that. And I just think even the points he got late, I think he found something. I think he found his spots. He found some openings. He found, some things where he could be effective. So I think you see more of that going forward.
Let's talk about the other superstar on the Miami Heat team, Bam Adebayo. Is there anything that Bam can do to stop Jokic? Because as of right now, Jokic, obviously you mentioned earlier, he can do whatever he wants on the court, but is there something that Bam can do to adjust or do more offensively to really put Jokic on his heels?
I think whenever you go side to side with the ball and then attack, I think it bodes well for you. The defense has to move. They're not set. Joker has to move from that outlet. Okay, now I got to close out over here. Now I got to close out here. Now I got to run that pick and roll. So I think whenever you go side attack and then side attack and keep that rhythm going with some movement first, and you can get downhill and get some looks and probe and get your shooter shots, I think that's better for you if you're the Miami Heat. And if I'm Bam, I'm trying to be involved in every single screen. I'm trying to be involved in every single handoff. I'm trying to be involved in every single flare screen. Whatever it is, I'm trying to be involved just to work him as much as possible.
And lastly, for the Heat, man, defensively, because I don't think they started the game off with the zone, but I do think they may go to more zone in this game because, Jokic and Murray, it was easy offense for them to start. They were getting into the middle of the paint. They were able to get their dribble penetration and just move off of that. You put 2 on Murray, and then all of a sudden you leave Jokic 4 on 3, and this is playground basketball. This is a layup. So I mean, how do you think Miami starts defensively in this game?
Zone. If you think about it, and I said this in the Boston series, you don't see zone in the NBA a lot, and so when you see zone a lot, they can mix it up. And by the way, they have more than one variation in the zone. It's
right.
a 2-3, it's 2, it's a 1-3-1.
Right.
So you're doing all trying to find the spots and you're fighting the clock. So if you let Jamal and Joker play, what I mean by that is let them play their pick and roll, you're dead because they've seen that a million times. They've mastered that. So you have to dictate what you're willing to give up with that not being part of their menu, right? And so I think you see zone more often. I think you see different variations. When Miami went up 3-0 and then they was in that 7th game, they came right out in zone because that's what got them there in that staple. So we'll see if they do it tonight.
This is the NBA Report. We're talking to our guy, Jamal Crawford, a.k.a. Jay Crossover. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. JC, when you spoke about that series with Miami and the Celtics in that pregame show, Kenny Smith talked about how he felt that energy. And for the first time in a while as a retired player, he missed it. He missed the game. Is that the same? Do you get that same feeling now that you cover in these series? You covered the East Finals. You cover in the finals now. Do you kind of miss it?
CP, when I get that feeling, I go hoop. I hoop. Go to my score. I'm hooping. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I miss it for sure, but I enjoy talking it. Like, I'm out of the space, and I stopped playing so much for that because I was still like, why am I playing this much? I'm not getting a call, right? And I'm like, nah, I got to let it go. So I started playing just a couple times a week. Now it's therapeutic. Now it's fun. It was always fun, but it's no like, okay, there's a call. I'm waiting for another end of this. Like, I can just go hoop. fun. And go to my story, CP. I was throwing off the backboard. I was still getting jiggy
Absolutely. Matter of fact, they showed the on Instagram, it was going around when you were hooping. I guess it was in Miami or Boston, and Spoelstra and Caron Butler and those guys will watch you in the pickup game with those guys.
Yeah, that was in Boston. So for me now, it's like when I hoop all over the country, right? Wherever I'm at, I'll hoop. So I have my shoes with me, everything with me, and I just pop up random gyms. I look at it like Andre 3000 playing his flute. He may be in the airport.
That's it, man. Final two quick ones for you. You know, Adam Silver did say that expansion is a possibility into new territories. Obviously, everybody wants the Seattle Supersonics to come back. What role do you see yourself playing in kind of being an advocate to bring the team back to the Emerald City?
Well, my role for now is just my voice. Like, just knowing that everything in Seattle is kind of waiting on the Sonics, right? Like, that's what I grew up watching. That's what kind of helped shape and mold my dreams. So I know what it would do for this generation of kids who had never seen an NBA game in person, who had never seen the Sonics or seen Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp and Ray Allen and all these guys. So for me, you know, fingers crossed that if expansion does come up, we're one of those cities that are, you know, it's officially back for, because we've been waiting on it. And then, you know, we'll see where it goes from there.
And final question for you, man. Once a Knick, always a Knick. You got a chance to see a full season of this squad. The introduction of Jalen Brunson on the national stage. The acquisition of Josh Hart. This team finishing 2 games away from the Eastern Conference Finals. How do you look back on that Knicks season, and what do you think they need to do to get to where the Miami Heat are, get to where the Nuggets are, and ultimately contend for a chip?
It was a great season. They're in great position because they're so young. Now they have a real foundation and culture they built. I would truly believe Jalen Brunson will be the reason that the Knicks get really, really good players moving forward. I don't know if it'll be this offseason, being, you know, after that. But the fact that anybody trying to win and you see him, you're like, oh, he's about winning. He's a culture dude. He'll do what it takes to win. And you want to play with guys like that. And I think that's attractive for any free agent. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely, man. Well, JC, we appreciate the time. Great job on NBA TV and TNT, man. I'm watching you on every pregame and postgame. Excellent job out there. Suits are looking crispy as well, man. So keep do your thing, man.
It's credit for the suits for sure. I have no suit swag whatsoever, so she gets all the credit.
No doubt, man. JC, stay healthy, stay blessed, man. Thanks again for the time.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
All right, man. That was our guy, Jay Crossover, man. Salute everybody in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Jamal Crawford checking in from Miami. I threw the bad signal out there, Al. Out there. Reached out to my guy, JC, and he came through and delivered, man. Stand-up guy, man. Absolutely stand-up guy. Salute to JC. We definitely appreciate him for the time. What do you think?
Yeah, when you hit me with the news that we got JC coming through, I was like, oh, word?
Yeah.
I was like, I get to talk to one of my favorite Knicks? Okay, let's go.
Yeah, the notifications are blowing up. Wifey just hit me. She said, Jamal Crawford, crossover? I said, yeah. That's what we do here in the NBA Report. You know what I'm saying? This ain't your mom and pop show, ladies and gentlemen. This is the number one show for the fans, by the fans, for a reason. Who do you got in this game tonight, man?
I think Miami pulls it out, man. I agree with Jay Crossover. I do think Miami comes back. Man, this is not a team that's just going to roll over. They're gonna scrap and fight to make sure they're still in this one. That's why, like, even when the series starts, like, I understand the talent that the Nuggets have, where you could say there could be a potential sweep, win in 5.
Yeah.
But the Heat are just gritty, man. They keep coming back and they keep showing you why you can't doubt them. So I think they're going to win Game 4 in Miami, tie it all up, go back to Denver, and that's when the series gets real interesting.
Yeah. You know, you can never say never, man. You can never say never with this Heat team. It's just hard. You know, it's a make or miss league. Some of those shots that Jokic and Murray were knocking down in Game 3, maybe those are off in Game 4. I think Miami is going to have to get it out the mud, get after. You know, one of the things that Denver did as well to dominate in this game was not just on the boards by using their size, but also winning the hustle stats, getting after it on the loose balls. I think they won twice as many of the 50-50 balls, according to the stats. So Miami's going to have to do that. They're going to have to do a little bit of the little things. force some turnovers. Maybe, as he said, if they go to more zone, they're able to do that. They got to get after it, get on the floor, and try to just win those inches to ultimately keep themselves in the game or establish a lead. And Vincent, Strus, Martin, they're going to have to knock it down from three. Miami's going to have to shoot better from three. They only shot about, I think, 32% from three in game 3. In game 2, when they won, they shot close to 50. I think they're going to have to get to that point, let it fly, and try to get their points there. As I said, Strus, Martin, Vincent, they're going to have to do that. No Herro for tonight. We'll see. I don't know, man. If he's not playing tonight, unless this thing is just, I don't know. I don't think he's playing. If he's not playing tonight, when is he going to play?
That's why I asked. That's why I asked JC, are we going to see this guy at all during the series? And look, he could come back game 5. Once again, I think Spo trusts his guys enough to get a win tonight where he's not going to try and throw everything off. But I feel like we're going to see, I don't know. We'll see, man. It's just weird because this is a guy that was a key component to get you here during the regular season. And everyone was anticipating game 3. This is probably the time he'll return, be back home in Miami, get the crowd really involved. And the crowd was involved in game 3. And when you saw in the third quarter, you could have used Herro a little bit. Someone who could create their own shot, get to the mid-range, give you a little shimmy. But I don't know, man. It's confusing to see that he's not even ready for another game home appearance.
Yeah.
I know we don't talk about the altitude in Denver enough being a factor, but I can't see you wanting to bring him back in high altitude weather because we know how players talk about no matter what sport. Playing in Denver is different. So I don't know if that's the time you want to bring him back and then put even just that minor of an element on strain for getting back into rhythm. It's interesting, man. It's very interesting that Tyler Herro is not ready to play yet, and he's not available for this game.
Yeah. I wonder, I do wonder, everybody's different. Everybody's built differently. Is there a mental challenge for Herro getting back rusty and not confident that he can help his team win? Maybe he's not confident that he can deliver for them. Is there a rust factor? I mean, is there a mental hurdle here that he's got to overcome?
There could be. I mean, how do you feel if you were considered like the second, third guy on a team? You see that your team is successful with you since you haven't played since the Milwaukee series, and then there's that added weight to you that when you come back, we're expecting you to perform, right? Yeah. Because you are that guy. You did get that contract extension. You were a big part for why the Heat were in position to compete in a play-in tournament, right? The games that you won, he had a hand in some of those. Mm-hmm. So when you bring him back, the expectation is we get Herro back. And this is for any player that you have. Any top player that comes back, it's we get this guy back. We're expecting that he's going to be right to where he was, fit seamlessly, and that's it. But the reality as an athlete is that it takes time to shake off the rust. And there's a confidence factor we always talk about. You hear everyone throughout the NBA, whoever covers the sport, you got to shoot and play with confidence. For an athlete that's coming back from injury, it is wire thin. If it doesn't go your way, you could completely lose the guy. And if it does go your way, he now has all the confidence in the world that he needs to compete for the last couple of games. So maybe it is, but once again, dude, I just don't see. I don't know how you don't have him ready for today, man. Everything all the reports that we saw from Milwaukee is that this guy will be ready if they make it to the finals. We're here in the finals.
Hey, it's do or die. It's do or die. And I just feel like I said to start the show, I just feel like they have to play a perfect game. They need Denver to struggle. They need their threes to fall. They've got to get after it. They need to up their intensity in terms of the hustle stats. Mm-hmm. You need a supporting cast to knock down those threes. They got to get after it on the boards or compensate somehow because Denver's size is certainly an advantage. So it's a physical, mental toll on them that they've got to dig deep and find it to get back into the series. But you can never count them out. Can never count them out. And with Game 5 being on Monday, I'm going to be very interested to see do Jimmy and Bam do their minutes increase tonight? Given that you have Saturday, Sunday off, you got an extra day off, travel day. I wonder if their minutes increase tonight.
I would expect so.
In a must-win game. You go back to Denver down.
You just said it.
It's a wrap. You're going to get smoked.
You just said it, CP. So I think we should expect their minutes to increase tonight because it's a do-or-die situation. There's no way you want to go lose both games at home in Miami and then go to Denver on Monday. It just has series all over written on it. So I think we do see a lot. I think we see the 40, like what we saw from Jamal Murray and Jokic playing 45, 44 minutes.
Yeah.
I think we're about to see the same thing from Bam and Jimmy tonight.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to.
You're going to have to. And Jimmy has to have a big game.
Yeah.
I like what JC said, because I talked about it too. We talked about, I should say, on the post-game show we did it on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. We talked about how Gabe Vincent getting those fouls, the 2 fouls, then immediately getting another foul. It took him out of it, man.
Yeah, definitely.
I think he's another guy that's got to have a big game tonight. I think we should. Part of me feels like the refs are going to call this game a little different to help, like, make this a series,
Yeah.
But you're going to need a big game from Butler, though. Butler needs to have, because we talked about 28 points from Butler. That's a good game. But he needs to have something like Jamal Murray, like Nikola Jokic, where it's just like he has to get like 35, get you like 8 assists, 8 rebounds, really. And we know he can be that defensive guy. So the stat sheet doesn't have to show like a triple-double like we saw from Jokic and Murray, but points-wise, they need a guy who's going to be fearless, who can attack and knock down critical shots. And I feel like that's why you have Butler. That's what you need him to do if Miami's going to pull this one out.
Yeah. True indeed, man. Well said, well said. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. The NBA report is here, man. Special guest Jamal Crawford just joined us. We in here live and direct. So to everybody watching, if you guys are watching on your lunch break, enjoy your lunch, man. We got a great show. Great show started off. So to everybody in the chat, we got Muhammad Mustafa Wahad. Never misses a show, man. He's on KFTV. He's on the NBA report. Salute to Alex Del Sasso. Says Jamal Crawford was a very underrated in his prime. Awesome scorer, one of the best scoring 6-man in the league for years. Ty Clemens in here. Salute to Ty. Kaiser Sose 718 says Denver's going to take control tonight. Watch the Miami cheat to try to play dirty plays. Yeah, that's their nickname. Miami cheat now is what the chat has. Michael Powell in the chat says, I feel a bounce back. I can see Jimmy being more aggressive offensively. Go ahead.
Hey, I mean, we saw the tweet from Alan Hahn saying Jimmy gets away with a lot of not Jimmy Butler gets away Bam gets away with a lot of crazy screens.
Yeah. Han Solo pointed that out. So our guy Han Solo. I mean, listen, man, I think you could watch any NBA game and point to about 10 moving screens. Not easy to police. I think it's as subjective as holding in the NFL. We'll see how it goes tonight. But I think another key for Miami is they're going to have to win those minutes when Jokic and or Murray are on the bench, especially Jokic. Going to have to win those minutes with your bench play. And if it's, last game it was 6 minutes he was out, you're going to have to try to. It's just like when you see these dominant players, especially in the playoffs, ascending themselves on the big stage where they're just, making elite NBA players in their own right look like mere mortals, you have to try to win those bench minutes when they're on there. Like, as a Knicks fan, remember that with Jordan. You would almost like count. You'd be waiting on the edge of your feet for when Jordan goes to the bench to see, can we get back into the game or can we stretch out a lead so that he doesn't kill us again when he comes back in. And he always killed us and always killed us and always killed us. You seen the same thing when you're watching
This
Kobe.
is the NBA report, man. Let's relax with all
I
this
know. I'm
stuff,
sorry.
right?
Sorry. PTSD. Sorry. We're in the off season. But I say that to say when you see those dominant players winning when they're on the bench, winning those minutes, sometimes those are key. So we'll see what happens. I'm going Denver tonight.
You think Denver's going to pack them up and say, this is it?
Yeah, I think they pack them up, and then I think they roll the joint up tonight, and they smoke it in the Mile High. Have a parade out there. Denver's going to be rocking. Never been to Denver. You been to Denver, bro?
I have been to Denver.
Yeah? How was it?
Yeah. It's nice, man. It's a low-key city.
Okay.
You know, if you like hiking, if you like being outdoors,
I do.
If you like microbreweries, it's the heaven.
Yeah.
It's the heaven.
Yeah, yeah.
Went to the Red Rock Amphitheater. Wish we caught a concert out there. It's nice.
Okay.
But there is a haze when you go out there, man. You are smelling everything everywhere you go.
Well, I'm in New York. You are smelling everything everywhere you go. Well, the smoke is gone, thank God.
Different. It is much different.
Yeah. All right, no doubt, man. Salute to Ty Clements in the chat. He says 43 points for Butler tonight and wins the game. So he's putting a lot out there. It's a big, bold prediction, bro. Bold prediction.
43 points. That is.
Yeah.
Let me go make a prop bet real quick.
Absolutely, man. Let's salute to John Talento in the chat. All right, let's segue now. Next topic, NBA offseason rumors, man. Always a good time of year, especially when our teams aren't in it. Always a good time of year. We did talk about Dame on the last show. He did make headlines, sent shockwaves through the league by naming the Heat and the Nets as two teams that he would go to. So now, once everybody reacted, here was Dame back on his IG Live last night, and here's what he had to say about the situation. Let me refresh, and here's Dame. Oh, hang on. Video has no sound. Hang on. Where's the sound? All right. These guys at NBA Buzz don't have the sound on. Okay, so here's Dame. He says, at the end of that interview, he asked me, "Do you think you will be in the Trailblazer uniform in October?" I said, "Yes, I do." And basically said about the two teams, he said he was simply answering the question. So he thinks he'll be in a Blazer uniform in October. Didn't say anything about February. Didn't say anything about the following all season. But Dame says he thinks he'll be there. And I think he will. I think he'll give it a shot. They probably won't have much. We'll see what they do in the offseason. We'll see what they do in the draft. Number 3 pick. See if they make any trades. I would have to think they try to do something. Or I mean, what's your take on the Dame thing right now?
I mean, look, for Dame Lillard, man, at some point you got to realize when a ship is sinking. Like, you know, all the players that we read talk about the Jerry West saying like he wished he went to another team, right? That's the whole spiel that they talked about with Braun and all these other superstars that put the ring on the table saying, you know, I wish I had more, right? And I think for Dame, you know, legacy is going to be looked at for him. Did he win a championship?
Yeah.
Did he do that? What did he do in Portland? Awesome talent. But I don't know how you look at the Portland Trailblazers right now and say they're really ready to compete with me. They're getting young, right? We talk about their front office. They got Mike Schmidt there. He's a draft guy, man. Like, It just seems like they're getting ready to move in a youth direction. And even when you hear how he and CJ were excited to get Carmelo Anthony out there because of names just don't really come out to Portland like that, it's tough to see him staying there because he's a top name as it is already. Like, why wouldn't you want to go play with Dame? Why wouldn't you want to go play with him and CJ when they're at the peak of their time, right? Mm-hmm. So what else is there at this point to stick around for to say they're going to build a contender for me to really be back in the playoffs? I mean, we haven't seen them make a deep run since it was that year they went to the Western Conference Finals and played the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
And that's been a minute.
It's been a while.
So I don't know, man. If you're Dame, I think, do you want to be looked at as like another Drexler where you're a good player? That's how you be viewed as, like, very good player out there in Portland, gave it his all. And that's like, you just go down in the history books like that, where it's good player, didn't win a chip, but they had competitive years, man.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think he cares about legacy. He doesn't really strike me as a guy who does. We've heard KD said he really doesn't care, and obviously he makes his moves accordingly. So I don't necessarily think he cares about legacy. Does he care about winning? He said it so many times last year. So maybe he is tired of carrying this franchise on his back. And like I said on the last show, it's just time. It's just time to move forward. Now, which teams do you think Dame makes an immediate contender? Because
Austin.
That'd be interesting. Do you consider a Boston? But they would have to. You would have to give up. You would have to give up Jaylen Brown, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you're getting Dame in return. I mean, the interesting part would be, what do you do with Marcus Smart if you go in that direction? Because he's the starting point guard. Do you just slide him over to the 2?
No, you slide
and have him out there.
You slide him to Portland. you slide him to Portland, man.
Well, is that the trade? Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart for
no
for Dame Lillard? That's what you're doing. That's a lot to lose, man.
Yeah.
If you're Boston, that's a lot to lose. I mean, obviously, the ideal situation would be like you have Dame, Brown, Tatum on Boston, but that's a team, that would instantly. That you're talking about going straight to the championship.
Yeah, they would, and they'd also be going straight to cap hell with two $50 million pieces, three $50 million pieces. You can't do buyouts. I mean, they would have to turn to that Miami Heat playbook to get those undrafted players and make something out of it. Are they built like that? Missoula's not Spoelstra. But I think Miami would be the perfect team for Dame. And when we watch this series, yes, a lot has been made about their supporting cast, and those guys certainly deserve the recognition and respect. But you see Miami be dominated by two superstars. If you want to put Murray on that, maybe he's got to earn that a little bit. Jokic is certainly there with the two back-to-back MVPs. But Miami could use a Dame, and you pair off Herro, 3 picks, maybe a Lowry to make the salaries work, and you do a Dame, Butler, Bam, you might still be able to keep Strus, Vincent, might still be able to, and you put that team out there. I think that team is worth getting that second apron for, because Spoelstra has already shown a track record to where it's Hayward Highsmith. It's, he's getting something out of Cody Zeller. He's getting stuff out of Strus, Vincent. They've already shown Miami that they can find those diamonds in the rough to put around the team. I think you put Dame with Butler and Bam. That's what gets them. They could still win the chip this year, don't get me wrong, but it'll be a lot harder. You go get Dame. Now you're odds on, one of the favorites.
Oh, for sure. I mean, either for that team, he seamlessly fits right in because they don't. You're relying on Gabe Vincent to. You take Dame Lillard over Gabe Vincent 10 out of 10 times, right. No question about it. And it's easier for Miami because it's that position, right? If you're Boston, you have to consider: do we ruin our big three that we got here? And chemistry is a big thing for a team. You don't want to always disrupt everything and make major changes, even if you are getting a star. These are things that you got to consider, and especially when you talk about the cap, the second apron, how do you build around it? No, you make a lot of valid points, especially with Spo and what he's done. Those two teams, just don't send them to Brooklyn, man. Yeah. Just don't send them to Brooklyn. Please.
Don't send them to Brooklyn, man.
We got to talk about one team too.
Yeah.
That always likes to be in the limelight when it comes to superstars.
All up in the videos. Yep.
Lakers.
Oh man. I mean, what can they give up? They still have the 2029 pick. Did they lose the 27 pick?
Give me a second. I can go find that.
I mean, not as important, obviously, but those were their 2 crown jewels, and now you got Austin Reeves, who's asserting himself. Does LeBron try to make that happen? That would be interesting.
They do not have their 2027 first-round pick.
They don't have it. Okay, so they got rid of it. I keep forgetting how they did that. That was the which trade was that for? It wasn't. Was
that for D'Lo or was it for Rui?
I think it was for D'Lo. I think no, it was a Beasley Vanderbilt trade.
Beasley.
It was a Beasley Vanderbilt trade. So I think they wouldn't have much. I think the Heat could put together a respectable package and put themselves in immediate contender status next year. So, is Philly an option? Who knows what happens with Harden? Would Philly consider that to try to keep Embiid, keep their championship window open, maybe part with Maxey? That would be tough to do, but maybe. Suns that don't really have much. They traded away half of it for KD. Mm-hmm. But imagine a KD, Dame, and Book. That would be pretty filthy. That would be pretty filthy. Now, the Nuggets did make a trade today, Al. They did make a trade.
That they did.
A Woj bomb comes across during the NBA Finals for a trade. Nuggets are acquiring the least favorable of OKC's first-round picks in 2024, the 37th pick in the 2023 draft, and the 2024 second-round pick for a protected 2029 first-rounder. So look at that. 2 games away from winning the finals, and they're already trying to get more. As Woj says here, the Nuggets are trying to maximize their championship window, and this deal gives them some additional chances at low-cost contracts and trade tools. For OKC, another first-round pick deep into the future. So to me, just on the surface of reading this deal, it's a win-win deal for both teams. For OKC, they're finally starting to consolidate one of the gazillion draft picks that they have. They found some nice young talent that they're establishing right now. They still have Chet Holmgren that they have to get back into the fold. So I think that's a good job by Presic in consolidating, punting for the future. And for the Nuggets, this is another way for them to continue building through the margins. We just talked about Christian Braun. He was the number 22 pick. You have other guys. Jokic himself was a second-round pick. Jamal Murray was a late lottery pick. So I think it's another way for them to build through the margins. We saw that in their acquisition of KCP. Signing a Bruce Brown. Maybe they use some picks to get some more veteran talent, or use those picks to find some draft picks that can help them down the road. I think it's a nice move by them.
Yeah, I agree with you on your analysis for that. Look, Denver, if you want to keep that core that they have together, you're going to have to think about low contracts that can fit into that, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about resetting the rookie scale contract. So them trading, having the least favorable of OKC's first round 2024 pick between them. You talk about teams that at that point, I'm not 100% with the numbers, but you're still going to get a good young player who you can fit around not only Jokic and Murray, but you're thinking about MPJ, you're thinking about Aaron Gordon, because those are the guys that you're really trying to keep together, because that's trying to keep really what's been pushing. If you can keep KCP, that'd be great. He's a veteran. Maybe you can negotiate with him in the future and say, hey, on a lower scale deal, stick around. Look what we got here. Why would you want to leave for anything else? So it makes sense to go get a young player. And you talk about Christian Braun. So 100%. This is a good move for Denver, and it's a good move for OKC. For OKC, what are you going to do with all these draft picks, man? You can't do anything this season. You can only have so many young players. At some point, they got to go get veterans on that team. They're going to make some sort of impact. So for OKC, it doesn't make sense for them to let's see how many draft picks they have this year. Good Lord. How
many they got this year? Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Jay from East New York, what's good? Jock Duran in here. Ty Clemens, salute. We got John Talento in here, man. Everybody else in the chat, if you guys are new in the chat, or you just in here repping and watching, go ahead and type in a salute or hail us up in the cchat, and we'll shout you guys out. What are they looking at?
So here you go. OKC only has one draft pick this year in 2023, but for next year, they have Houston's 2024 first round pick. They got Utah's, they got their own, and they got the Clippers. So then you got your second round from either Charlotte or Minnesota. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of draft picks, man. You're not making all those selections next year. And for OKC, the fact that they got into the play-in this year, they're making strides as a young core that's looking to compete. You got SGA there. You got Giddey. You got Lou Dort, who they extended not too long ago. So you just got to do something if you're OKC at this point. So for them, this is a low move, because they're not drafting 4 first rounders next year if all of them came through. Right?
Yeah. True story. True indeed, man. All right, so let's take a look at this. We had to start the show a little bit early to accommodate Jamal's schedule, but this was from Jake Fisher of Yahoo Sports, NBA insider for Yahoo Sports. He came out with an article earlier this week on the draft and talking about potential landing spots or potential scenarios. Now, obviously, one of the top free agents, or probably the top free agent in this class, will be, what will James Harden do? Will he opt out of his player option with Philly? I would have to think you would expect that. And the question is, does he stay with them, or does he go to the Houston Rockets? Well, there was reports earlier this week that he's torn between the two. I still think he goes there. I still think he goes to H-Town. A lot of people are questioning, why would the Rockets want to do that? Well, I think it's you can't build a championship contender with strictly young players, right? Ultimately, you have to bring in somebody that can help you turn the corner and start building a winning culture. And, you may not look at James Harden in that way, but you might say, okay, we have Jabari Smith. We have a promising talent like Alperen Sengun. We have what's the gunner's name? The kid that got into trouble, Kevin Porter Jr. Maybe somebody who can try to help him get in line. Jalen Green could be on the way out if that happens. But I think you ultimately need to find somebody that can help get these young guys together and help them win. This is why Stephen Silas had, unfortunately, a tough time and found his walking papers. So you're gonna have to. You're going to have to ultimately try to win. And so that's the reunion. I would have to assume that Harden and Fertitta have a great relationship. There's always talks there's been talks that Harden's family's still in H-Town, so obviously that's home for him.
Yep.
So what do you think happens there?
I mean, with getting Ime Udoka as your head coach, that doesn't really scream, let's go through a youth movement. That screams, we're ready to compete. I mean, we just saw what he did in Boston. We saw that he wanted that. I won't say that he wanted that job, but he took that job in Boston because he wanted to compete, right? And I think when you see for a first-year head coach that's able to take that much talent to the finals in his first year, you're hiring him because you know that we know Houston doesn't want to be. They don't want to keep tanking. They don't want to be in this losing situation. They want to compete, so that's why they brought him in. Who's the guy that's close to the situation that could help you win? Maybe not a championship, but he'll definitely change it around. Is James Harden. You talk about the businesses; those things factor in what players want to do today. That's a reason why KD chose New York and went to the Brooklyn Nets. He had that, wanted to be close to his family in DC, wanted to have his business ventures. You think about all those things. So for James Harden, it makes sense. I'm just thinking about the ramifications it means for Philly, because you'll get Daryl Morey, right? That's the big question too. Will Daryl Morey do a deal with Houston? They didn't end on good terms.
Right,
so that's a question that I have, man. Will they actually do that? Because for Daryl Morey, he's not a guy that I see as someone who wants to go through a whole rebuilding process either. Okay?
Yeah.
He's had a lot of competitive teams, especially with James Harden down there in Houston. Okay? We know about D'Antoni being there as well, him wanting to go get Chris Paul, him making the move for Westbrook. He's a guy that will do anything to make sure that his team is competitive. Is Philly willing to do that? This is the stuff that I'm looking at, saying, what does it mean for Philly if you lose James Harden? Because Joel Embiid at some point is going to say, I'm tired of just going to the second round and then going home.
Right.
And who do you bring in afterwards to make them competitive? So I'm looking at, if Harden does go back to Houston, what's the subsequent move that Philly will do to stay competitive?
Yeah, true story, man. True story. So I think he ends up there. Now, Ramona Shelburne's saying that the Suns might be a dark horse candidate. I don't see it. They have no money for him. What trade pieces are they going to offer when Ayton is their biggest chip?
For James Harden?
Yeah, she claimed that. She's like, don't quote, nothing confirmed, but James Harden, I don't see that at all. I don't see how the Suns need depth. I don't see how they part with what do they have to offer? They gave away half the team for KD.
Yep.
Unless is there a Ayton, Harden, some sort of three-way trade where Philly gets what they want, you send Ayton somewhere else, and Phoenix gets Harden and a couple of depth pieces? Maybe we'll have to see, wait and see. But I would have to think, because Philly was his Philly was his preferred destination before Brooklyn. I think the only way he leaves is to go back to a familiar situation, which would be Houston, which was originally rumored from earlier this year or even last year. I think that those rumors started, or I think it was earlier this season when those rumors started. So I think it is. I think it is Houston.
He has a player option, so he can leave.
Right. But he's not signing for any minimums. He's getting a bag.
Yeah, he wants to get paid.
Right.
He has a player option this upcoming season. My question, do we see a sign and trade?
That's what I'm saying.
Because if he wants to get paid, I think a sign and trade might have to happen.
Right.
Especially if you want to get the max, you'd have to lock in. That way you're guaranteed to go get the 5 years that you want. And this is where, for Houston, that's tricky. Because if he just goes out there outright and asks for max money, it's only 4 years.
Yeah.
So if he wants to get the full-on spiel, that's what I'm thinking, does Daryl Morey want to do? For Daryl Morey, this will be interesting. If he just leaves outright and just goes back to Miami, that would be quite the change. That would be quite would you even consider that a power move if he just left? For James Harden, if he just leaves, because for Daryl Morey, you're just leaving high and dry at that point.
Yeah.
You don't even get any assets in return. You traded Ben Simmons, you traded draft picks to go get James Harden.
I mean, I would think he tries to help him. I would think.
Keep that relationship going, right?
I would think, yeah.
NBA is all about relationships, man.
It is. I don't think he leaves him high and dry, especially when, he had some success here. I mean, they didn't make it to the conference finals, but it wasn't like things just ended in turmoil. I mean, they had a competitive team. They had a good team. Just seems like he wants to go back to familiar territory, strip clubs and turkey leg hut, So salute to everybody in the chat, man. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. JJ in the chat says Tari Eason. Yeah, I like Tari Eason, man. I think he's going to take a big step in his sophomore year. Meta Jazz says hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Meta Jazz, you know that. Andrew AA3 checking in from the UK. Salute to all our brethren over there in the UK. Chris Middleton, Al, has a player option this year for $40 million. Obviously, he wants to cash out and get the bag. I don't see him going anywhere else. I mean, this is the Bucks. The Bucks have to keep him. They have no other options. I think
to keep him.
Yeah, I think what happens is I think they keep him, and I think Brook Lopez becomes the casualty there.
I agree with that.
Lopez also a free agent. It's rumored that he wants another bag. According to Jake Fisher, the Rockets are also interested. So do they go get Harden and Lopez? $60 million in cap space. They have the money. So I think they bring back Middleton, and I think that Brook Lopez becomes a casualty there.
In the off chance that Middleton does leave, right? Let's just play because Middleton was an important piece for why they want to chip out in Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. If you're Middleton, why? I'm also curious, why wouldn't you lock in for the contract based on all the injuries that he just had? Do you think that would, you'd have to think if you go to the table, that's going to be brought up. Can we guarantee? Can you guarantee us that you're going to be healthy for a full season?
It should, yeah.
So it's actually, it's interesting to think that he would opt out.
Yeah.
To do that after the injuries. And then, because what you said, was it 44?
It's his contract is at 40.4.
So it's at 40.4.
Yeah.
For player option.
Yeah.
I don't even know why you would opt out at that point.
Well, you want that multiple years. You want the security.
I get that, but are you willing to take less? Because the negotiation is going to be a little less, in my opinion.
He would have to. He would definitely have to. But I think for the Bucks, I don't think they're in a lose-lose situation. They lose him, it's not like they're going to get all that money back in cap space.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to compete. They just brought in Adrian Griffin for as their coach. We'll see what impact that has. You still have Giannis there. You want to keep Giannis happy? You got to keep his supporting cast together, man.
Middleton played only 33 games this year.
Yeah, that's tough.
And only started 19.
Yeah. It's tough.
Like, why? If you opt out, like, I get it. This is not the first time he's only played under 40 games, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, this also happened back in 2016, 2017 with Middleton. And sure, he's played more than 60 games most of the time. But right now, last year, you want to opt out and say, hey, I want to get more money. I just think Milwaukee's going to come back and be like, yeah, you better take a little bit of a discount then.
Yeah. As
you're
they
31
should.
You're 31 years old. So if he's going to do that, that makes sense. For a team perspective,
Yeah.
if he takes less, then maybe you can keep Brook Lopez around. But
Yeah.
if he's asking for more, that's tough.
Well, that's true. That's true. But according to what Jake Fisher's saying, he's saying that that Brook wants one last bag before he gets up out of here.
Well, Brook just finished in top 3 defensive players of the year.
You know what I'm saying?
He's
He wants that bag.
his game to be. He's expanded his game to be a 3-point shooter.
As he should. You know, you sound like his agent, man. You ready to wheel and deal out there.
Hey, I like Brook Lopez.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
People were like, you want to? If people want to talk about getting a all right, here comes. Let me flip the hat around. Put on the Knicks hat.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're talking about getting a stretch 5 for the New York Knicks,
Yeah,
Brook Lopez is your guy.
absolutely. Yeah.
You want to talk about defense? A guy that can knock down the 3, get you open space for Brunson, RJ, and Randall. That's the guy. Don't come with me to Miles Turner. Don't come with me with Karl Anthony Towns. It is Brook Lopez.
Damn, you just ready to trade my guy Mitch like that, man.
No, I'm not ready to trade him like that. Don't get me out. Don't do that.
That's foul, bro. That's foul. Bro.
I'm not saying I want to trade Mitch. I'm saying if that's the stretch 5 that you want, that's the guy you go.
We
get.
got
I'm
you.
not saying if you're the Knicks, you don't do that right now. I still believe in Mitch. Mitch is young.
We
all
got
right.
you.
I don't throw away a guy who just had a double on Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley away. Absolutely not.
Now, Jake Fisher also says if they can't get Harden, the Rockets could turn to Fred VanVleet, who's often been linked to Houston as a secondary option who could perhaps slot into the team's lead ball handling role. Now, VanVleet has a player option himself for $22 million. Got to expect him to opt out of that. He wants to get paid. You know, Brunson got the bag. Fred VanVleet wants the bag himself. I think he's going to be out. I think he leaves. I think he ends up leaving Toronto. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes. If Harden goes to Houston, Fred VanVleet.
Oh, absolutely. Go hang out with your guy. Nick Thibodeau.
Does VanVleet do they try to get a sign and trade?
I think if you're Daryl Morey, that's how you flip it, right? It's like, all right, we lose James Harden to Houston. Let's get that draft capital, send it up to Toronto, because that's what Toronto wants to do too. They want to continue to build. That would be the way to do it. If James Harden, that'd probably be the 3-team trade that you see, is something between Toronto, Philly, and Houston, if that were to happen. Just because you need a point guard for that team. You need someone to do it. I don't think Maxey is there yet to be the guy that you're to run the entire show. Obviously, he's a key piece, but, Fred VanVleet, gritty player, good scorer, solid defender for his height. I think that would be the way that you go, because then you still have 2 dynamic guards in Maxey and Fred VanVleet, and then you just got to figure out the ancillary pieces, like how do you fit there? Maybe Tobias Harris makes an appearance, because he wasn't really utilized in Doc Rivers' system.
Yeah, true. Baby Mello, bootleg Mello. He fell off though. We'll see. We'll see if he bounces back.
Is it Tobias Harris? Is it Mook?
He was. Remember that when he was on the Clippers, they would always compare him to like little Mello. Mello was his favorite player. It was a little bit. I said, baby, he's like bootleg. He's Dollar Tree. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just asking, who's the Dollar Tree? Is it Mook? Is it Marcus Morris? Or is it Tobias Harris?
Oh, it's Tobias Harris. Yeah, it's Tobias. Mook was kind of in his Dollar Tree Mello bag when he played for the Knicks. Don't get it confused. Mook was balling. That's how we got
he shot
Emmanuel
40% from three, man. He was the only 3-point shooter.
Yeah, Mook was killing. He was the best player on the Knicks. Don't get it confused. So we'll see where Fred VanVleet goes. It's going to be very interesting. I think he's a goner, though. On the wing, Jake says, Rockets, Cam Johnson, another name that a lot of teams are going to be interested in. Jake says that the Nets plan to match any realistic offer for the restricted free agent. But Rockets interested as well, as they should be. Lights out 3-point shooter. Really stepped his game up after his rookie year. Nice complimentary player, man. 3-and-D wing. I like Cam Johnson, man. I think they do match unless he just gets like a crazy deal.
Cam Johnson. Yeah. I like Cam Johnson.
Yeah.
You know, once again, if you're Houston, you're trying to compete. You add Harden, you get a 3-point shooter in Cam Johnson. Didn't sound like he was too big into New York City from a guy who is from Pennsylvania, man.
Yeah.
He's like, why am I traveling only 2 miles and it takes forever to get there? Where I can travel.
He was scared of the traffic. You know, jump on the subway, man. Jump on the Iron Horse. Get you a Metro card. Get on the subway, man. Do it like the old heads. Well, you know, Walt Clyde Frazier used to jump on the subway. All the old Yankees, all the old Giants, they used to ride the Iron Horse. They're too entitled these days, man. Go ahead.
Or, you know, he makes millions. Why don't you just live around the corner from both the center and the stadium, the arena?
Yeah, you're right there in Brooklyn, bro. What do you mean? Go get you a high rise, man. Go to Fort Greene. You know,
go find a brownstone.
Go find yeah. So I think he stays with the Nets, but we'll see. And ultimately, even if he stays with the Nets, if I'm the Nets, I'd look to still trade him because they're in danger of kind of being in that stuck in the middle place where they still need a guy. You know what I mean? Like Mikal Bridges is turning into a guy, but they still need the guy.
Yeah, but my thing is that if you're Brooklyn, are you just willing to go all in on just a full rebuild like that?
No.
Like if you so.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think they can because the Rockets own still a lot of those picks in the Harden deal. I think they have to try to chart this thing forward. But if you're not going to trade Mikal Bridges, which is right now they're not looking to do, then Cam Johnson becomes your next most valuable piece or even more valuable in a package to go get Dame or somebody like that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't think they can necessarily peel it back at this point because they still owe so many picks to the Rockets. Now, they did get some back in the KD trade, but I would have to think that they would be looking to contend or try to.
Okay.
East is wide open right now.
Okay, I'm seeing that he's a RFA right now.
Yeah, right.
I'm just trying to see. Yeah, so, okay. If you're Cam, you're a restricted free agent, does Houston just overpay and go get him?
I'm not sure they overpay.
Because why even deal with the team that, you know, you have their draft picks?
Yeah.
That's your value. You can go trade that to anybody else.
Yeah, that's true. You know, if they get Harden, I don't necessarily think I don't think they overpay for a guy like a Cam Johnson because they're still not there yet. Mm-hmm. I still think you get Harden, you still have a window where you have a bunch of draft picks you can deal with. I don't think they get desperate and put all the chips in the middle and say, let's overpay for Cam Johnson. Because you're still not better than Denver, right? You're right. You're not even necessarily better than the Warriors, who are still trying to get themselves together. The Clippers are still going to be there. Hell, even the Suns will be there. So, you know, an overpay for Cam Johnson, I don't see that unless they feel like they have at least, you know, their Harden and their next guy, where a Cam Johnson will be like a really great piece to like kind of complement that starting five.
They kind of sound desperate. I mean, Houston kind of sounds desperate to me, considering that they said, we know they want to compete. That just sounds desperate at this point. You know, I think when you get Ime Udoka, you can't just say, all right, we got this good head coach. if we don't get James Harden, we don't have anything this year. Like, what's the next pivot? What's the next pivot? Because if that's the case, you're just becoming an undesirable destination for head coaches, talent. So I think they have to do something this year. I'm not saying they go out and give Cam Johnson the bag, but part of me wouldn't be surprised if they do a slight overpay to go get Cam Johnson. So what would Cam Johnson get you on the market right now? Would it be
Aaron James in the chat says 4-100.
4-100 for Cam Johnson?
Holy moly, guacamole, yeah.
Okay, like I like Cam Johnson, but I don't think 4-100 is where we're at right now. I think more along the lines of what Josh Hart is commanding is probably where you could see someone like Cam Johnson, 3-and-D player.
What was the name again?
No, I'm just saying, like, I think the price range for Cam Johnson, right, is like 4 years, 80. I think that's more closer to the range.
I like that.
Like, I think it's just something like what Josh Hart would just would get, right? I think that's like along the lines of like the contracts that I'm seeing for him.
Yeah, I think that's is in range.
So if you're thinking that, let's say that's the deal that he's offered. Are you Houston? You're like, you know what? Let's just see if Brooklyn's willing to go 4 for 90.
Yeah,
and really do it. That's how I look at it as.
True indeed, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. He talks about Dillion Brooks in this article. I think Brooks, as a capable defender, can help a team. I would actually like him on that Rockets team if they bring in some leadership behind that. They're saying that the Rockets are interested, so we'll see what happens there with Dillion Brooks. Can't hit the broadside of a barn, but on the right team, he could help. He could help as a defender. But I think he could help. I would have to see what he commands on the open market. After the Grizzlies said under no circumstances are we
under no
this.
circumstance.
I just wonder, like, what does that mean? Like, was it? I just feel like the under no circumstance thing.
That was a bit much.
I just feel like that really said a lot. I think it said a lot, right? Like if the Knicks don't re-sign Taj Gibson, he just goes as a free agent, right?
Yeah.
Any other team, a guy walks, you're gonna let a guy walk. He's expected to walk, he walks, or maybe you're not even expecting him to walk, and you just move forward. But that underlying saying under no circumstances, that tells me that there's a soured and frayed relationship that I think between the player and the organization. We don't know what it is. We haven't heard anything. I'm not going to cast aspersions on the guy. I don't know him. We haven't heard anything. He does try to play that villain role, and he was terrible at it because he went out there and got cooked and was shooting bricks. But there's something personal there between the two camps for the Grizzlies to say, under no circumstances will we bring this guy back. No, thank you. Get up out of here. Jazzy Jeff out the front door.
Yeah, we obviously don't know what was happening behind closed doors, but part of me feels that was a little drastic to say under no circumstance. Say he wouldn't be brought back. Like, he has a place in the NBA to be a player, defensive player, erratic on offense. But you talk about Houston, he was averaging about $11.5 million a year with the Grizzlies when he signed that 3-year contract. I think he might have to take a little less and earn his good graces just be a role player, just try to be a leader, not necessarily play the villain and go above and beyond what your role is. But I don't know, man. For Dillion Brooks, like I wouldn't want him just because of the media attention he just had. But if you can he has to go to a situation where there's not a lot of eyes on him. because he brought a lot of eyes to himself in Memphis. They're a championship. They were considered a deep playoff run team, maybe even championship, just based on their wins this season. But he may have to go to a situation like Portland, maybe to a losing situation and go earn his stripes again, and then go to somewhere. Because I don't see if he goes to Houston, then you're saying Ime Udoka is going to set him straight.
Yeah.
You have to have faith that he's going to set him straight. Be like, look, this is your role. This is what you do. If you want to, be in that vein of like a Marcus Smart, to be that energy guy, tough, gritty guy, go do that. You're not going to talk to anybody. That's what you do. If it's not that type of situation, I'm seeing somewhere like Portland, maybe even Charlotte, right? Guys like those type of teams where they can take someone like Dillion Brooks, not a lot of media attention, not going to be looking at you, and he could just go under the radar and then earn his stripes again. True
indeed, man. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Who's in the chat rocking with us, man? I see Jay Boogie in here. Shout out to TM, the mod. JJ from Brooklyn never misses a show. Aaron James, salute to Aaron James on the NBA report, man. Make sure we're getting those likes up. Hit that share button. Share this on Twitter. Share it on Facebook. Share it on Instagram. Drop us an Instagram story. Tag us in it if you're watching at home. Shout out to Gotcha Open, man. Never misses a show. Shout out to Gotcha Open as well. This one, you sent me, Al, from Peter Bott. I don't know how to pronounce the guy's last name. Bate.
Shout out to JD. I'm going to give JD the credit because he sent it to me.
So to JD.
JD's our guy.
So to JD.
JD's always searching the Twitter.
Yeah,
like,
he doesn't sleep.
What news can I find?
He doesn't sleep. He is the web crawler. According to Peter Bott of New York Post, New York may still pursue a trade for Donovan Mitchell at some point. Not surprising, bro. I still think Spida's coming here at some point. It's here to New York. This is an NBA report, so we can't. We got to be specific. I still think he's coming to the Knicks at some point. I agree with that. It's not surprising at all. He can throw out the picture of himself in a Cavs jersey as a little kid. He wanted to come to the Knicks. We know that. He talked about the energy of the Garden in the playoffs. I saw him. I watched him in Game 3 and 4. He was touring
around New York, man.
I mean, he felt the energy. He said it on Theo Pinson's show. He felt the energy, and you could see him like during the Cavs starting lineups and during the Knicks starting lineups, and the national anthem and MSG was when Game 3, man. The whole building was shaking, and you just saw he felt that vibe. He felt the energy. Now his team didn't respond, but I think it's only a matter of time, man. Now he's got 2 years left on this deal with Cleveland. All right? Let's take a look at when his contract is up. So to everybody in chat, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Let's take a look. Let's do some investigations here. 2 more years. He's got 2 more. This year, next season, the season after that, and then he's got a player option for $37 million by the time he's 29. He's opting out of that.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
28?
Yeah.
28, 29?
Right.
Prime?
He's out of there.
No.
He's out of there. So at that point, so you're looking at not next season, but maybe the summer after that, where he's requesting the trade. Maybe Leon goes in there and swoops in. But I'm not surprised. I still think he's a target here. You put him and Brunson together in the backcourt. Maybe Embiid's here by that time. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not surprised by that. What do you think?
That doesn't shock me at all.
Yeah.
He was just touring throughout all of New York. You hear how he talks about New York. His family's in New York. He hasn't been back on the East Coast since high school, right? He went to that private school out in New Hampshire. I believe it was Brewster Academy. I think you have the CAA connection. Mm-hmm. Everything just points to at some point he will be a Knick. It was highly anticipated. I think when the NBA was doing the schedules and they were putting the Knicks in so many primetime games, I think even the NBA believed that Donovan Mitchell was going to be in a Knicks jersey. Because if you told the NBA saying, "Hey, Knicks coming off a mediocre season, they just had Jalen Brunson, he's a good player, but we want a lot of these primetime games. I don't think that's what's selling the NBA for saying, hey, let's swat some of these Knicks games for prime time. I think it's going to happen, man.
Yeah.
If he wants to be here, he'll be here. I think for Cleveland, they have to think of that as well. They have to do some serious winning in order to really convince him to stay. Otherwise, he made it to second rounds out in Utah, and you saw that his time there was coming to an end. I think Cleveland has to do the same thing. They're talked about as being a championship contender. Look, when I was previewing all the games for Knicks Fan TV, it was always said, why not us? Why not us? Why can't we be the ones that go to the finals? So there is that expectation for Cleveland. But if they don't do it by this season, you got to be thinking that you're trying to get him at his highest value, which is not on one more year. But that's how you have to think in this NBA world today.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're leaving the window. They're leaving the light on for him, which you could expect. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for your boys, CP and Alex, on the NBA report. Now on to the next topic, Al. The 2019 draft class revisited. And why do we say that? Well, why do we want to revisit this? Because obviously, as you know, the top 2 picks in this draft class have been in the news, and it's not good. Certainly.
For all the wrong reasons.
For all the wrong reasons, man. For all the wrong reasons. Ja Morant and Zion Williamson have just been caught up in the crossfire, man. Absolutely caught up in the crossfire. Hang on one second. I'm trying to find this meme. But anyway, starting with Ja Morant, Adam Silver was on the Dan Patrick's show, gave an update and said basically they want a suspension that is going to, in lesser words, change him. Something that's going to change him for the better. But it seems like it's a combination of games missed that he will miss and maybe some sort of structural program to get him some true rehab, something, right? Because something is certainly awry. He's making bad decisions. Now there's a report Breakfast Club is talking about, well, it's a toy gun, is a real gun. It's even worse. If it was a toy gun, he's out there playing carpool karaoke with a toy gun in his spare time. It's the image is still the image, and it's a bad image for Ja Morant in the league. Whether it's real or not really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, now he's just pressing buttons.
Now, right. So I think, I think that was kind of a slap in the face to Silver in the league. I still think they're going to send a message to him, whether it's games or combination of games, rehab, something. They're going to send a strong message here, and we're going to find that at the end of the finals.
Woo. It's tough, man, because you don't like seeing young players go through this type of situation, man. He has a prime opportunity to be a face of the league, make a lot of money, help not only himself but his friends and his family, and to get your name tied into incidents that just don't make any sense whatsoever. And you have and the conversation is, well, he's not breaking any laws, and it's like no one's talking about laws. Everyone's talking about the image of the league, man. Yeah. When you're face of the league and you're a role model, there's a way that the NBA wants to conduct themselves. And I think I saw someone talk about, well, how come rappers get to, flash off, weapons and everything else in music videos and so forth, and what's wrong? Why can't Ja do that? It's 2 different industries.
Yeah,
2 different industries. We're talking about a corporation that wants to promote itself as purely basketball. They have their identity they want to maintain, and Ja's not doing that. So I expect a lot of games to be missed, man, because you know how this works, man. They had the whole situation where he had the sit down interview with Jalen Rose. He said he went to therapy. He said he went to see, was it counseling?
Yeah.
Seemed like he really had a good conversation with Adam Silver that he was going to do this. And I think if you're Adam Silver, you have to come back with the hammer. Just because if you don't, then you're looked at as a pushover commissioner and that anyone can get away with anything. And the way that hurts is hitting someone's pocket in this league.
Got to. Money talks.
I think we're going to see Ja get a massive suspension. I know you had Worldwide Wob on here.
Yeah.
Shout out to our guy.
Yeah.
And I think you guys discussed probably 50 games.
I think it's about 50. Or at least half. I think it's half the season.
The way Silver's talking about it, it could be an entire season at this point. You know? I just, like, you lose an entire season's worth of money. You lose sponsorships. I think if you really want to send a message, you say, hey, this is what it's like not to be playing for a year and be off the radar. Like 50 games, it's just like, you can come back. You'll have an opportunity to compete for playoffs. I think if you really want to send a message, you say the entire season, you get some counseling, you figure this out, and if you come back and you do it again, you know, because my thing is, like, what is the next step after that? If it's 50 games this time, say he comes back, because you got to think, because Silver's an attorney, all right? He was a lawyer. And he's not only thinking about the now, he's thinking about the future. Like, how do I send this message to say not to do this again? All right. If I do 50, what's he probably going to think? Okay, what's the next step? An entire year? Because again, it's not going to be 2 years.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you're going to make it hurt, you got to make it hurt now. Say 1 year, entire suspension. You're not playing at all. You're going to see counseling. Your team's got to figure it out. Because then Memphis has to be like, then not only is it the league, but then the team saying, look, we didn't have you for a year. You're a big portion of what we do around here. If we can't count on you, we have problems.
It's true. True story, man. True story. What do you guys think in the chat? How many games will Ja Morant get from the commissioner? I think half a season to 50. I think half a season, so 41 to 50 is my range. Combined with, you know, they probably have him do rehab, community service, do a PSA on, you know, NBA channel, TNT, you know, guns are bad, don't do it. Something, I don't know. But I think it'll be a combination of that. Some sort of rehab, real rehab. As Silver said, he wants him to change his life. So we'll see. So that was the number 2 pick in Ja Morant. Guns and Buns. This graphic that I have up here on the Jumbotron. Shout out to whoever made this graphic. The next 30 for 30, Guns and Buns, a Carolina addiction story featuring Ja Morant and Zion Williamson. And as you guys know, these guys came up together in South Carolina, played in the same AAU team and everything. So they're very familiar with each other. And look, on the Zion side, now Zion came under fire this week. And first, in a good way, he posted a picture. Well, I don't know if he posted a picture, but there was a picture of him and his lady. They're welcoming a brand new child into the world. Everybody's congratulations, all of that stuff. And then the storm comes, where you have adult film stars, as we'll put in a positive way, an adult film star. Goes by the name Mariah Mills. I'm not familiar, but you know, some of you young guys out there are. Maybe do your Googles or whatever's. Comes out, and I'm not going to put the tweets up, but goes in on him. Was not too pleased to find out that he's got a little junior on the way. And it seems like they got into a relationship. She exposed some text messages alleging that, you know, he had her and, you know, flying her out places, paying for things, offering to pay, inquiring about how much the bill was going to be. Then you had another adult star coming out on him. So now he's getting humiliated all across the social media. He's already getting humiliated about his weight. Can't get onto the court. You know, was battling a hamstring injury for damn near 2-3 months. Couldn't play in the play-in game for the Pelicans. That one hurt his image. Now the ladies are coming after him. So you got the number 1 pick and the number 2 pick in the 2019 draft in big trouble. One can't play, and one is sabotaging his play. You just can't make it up, man. look, for the Zion thing.
I think the Zion thing to me is just more comical at this point because it's all the wrong. Like you're talking, like people are talking about his weight. You're talking about you know an adult film star.
Yeah, it's messy, man. It's messy, man. And you know,
all in New Orleans.
All in New Orleans. It's
they
messy,
call it the Big
man.
East for a reason, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and D Block 1755. Yeah, they're dropping pictures of him on the web, man. They're dropping pictures. Nasty. I mean, that is, as the kids say, nasty work. That is nasty work. I mean, somebody has got to protect Zion Williamson. How do you let this guy get out there and get exposed? Zion, where are the NDAs, Zion? Somebody on Zion's team draft up the NDAs. You can't have this with your number one pick getting exposed like that.
What is it? What's the one? What's that Dave Chappelle skit? That's what I'm thinking of. After you have a relationship, you sign the agreement. No one talks about it.
Listen, man, take it from the book of Jeter. Take it from the book of Jeter. Phones get checked at the door. You sign NDAs. You never heard anything about the captain's affairs except for the roster, which was a great one, a legendary one, a Hall of Fame roster.
Well, we did get that one report. Remember the one report where it's like, I went on a second date with Jeter and he gave me the same gift again, which was a signed baseball.
Yeah, he regifted. Jeter was a savage out here. But like
you
I said,
either get a gift basket or a signed baseball when you leave.
I mean, look, the guy went through a 20-plus career in the MLB, didn't get married until the end, and you didn't hear one salacious rumor about him in these streets. Zion has to take a look. You just had the Captain documentary out here on ESPN. Take a look. They talked about that. NDAs, you check your phones. You know, you go to the Chappelle concert, you go to the Chappelle show. You check your bags, you check your phone in the bag. You leave it up at the front. Why is it so hard? But these guys are so young, man. These are young whippersnappers, man. You got to get right, Zion. Because look, from Jordan to the late great Kobe on down, they've all been jammed up.
Yeah,
right?
All been in the news.
They've all been jammed up. I mean, there's a reason why you're paying for the same Jordans that you paid for last year, the year before that, the year before that, year before that, just with a different color. That's because Juanita needed a cut. Right? Jordan got taken to the cleaners. He damn near lost half his empire when he got divorced. So they all go down. Right? The tail will put you in jail, Al. You just remember that, okay? The tail will put you in jail if you're not careful. So for Zion, it's nothing new under the sun. It's just that in the social media age that we're in, it's all out there in public, and now he's getting humiliated. So he's just got to walk a little bit differently. You know what I mean? But now the on-the-court stuff, he's got to get right. He's got to get that part together. Not the lady side. It's the on-the-court side.
Yeah, I mean, for Zion, definitely just has to be playing basketball. But it always interests me, man. Like, you're a first overall draft pick. You're a superstar. You can have anyone in the world you want. Truly, the world is your oyster.
Yeah.
And yet you want to go get yourself tied up with people who are going to throw you under the bus and all these rumors and
I mean,
ridiculous.
Well, bro, the thing is, bro, is that like he's not the first and he damn sure won't be the last.
Yeah, I know he's not the first. He's not going to be the last.
Half the NBA got joints they're paying for, flying out, mortgage, everything, cars, all of that. But you got to move properly.
History repeats itself. Yeah. Don't you just watch? You're like, oh, the NBA Players Association needs to come up with a guidebook saying this are the do's and don'ts. Here's what you do, okay, and leave it at that.
Listen, drip more in the chat. Discipline always the fall of man. The tail will put you in jail. You got to move properly, man. So that's the thing with Zion. But you look at the downfalls of the number 1, number 2 pick. Hey, we got a good one here in New York. Number 9, RJ Barrett. Clean record so far. Very mature for his age. You know, I had a chance to interact with him, speak to him a couple times, interviewed him. Very mature. Solid foundation. Great family, great parents. Jamaican raised, remember that. Great parents. In the biggest market, the highest pressure stakes. Whatever you say, whatever about his game, but you have to appreciate that about RJ. You have to appreciate about RJ. His work ethic and his maturity is made for New York.
100%. You just look at how he approaches the game, and I know, look, everyone always talks about the talent, the star talent. When you watch Zion and Ja on the court, it's always, look at these guys, look what they can do. How come we don't have that here? Well, sometimes you just need a guy who's mentally tough, who's going to go to work, and we saw that in the playoffs. Reached out to Drew Hanlon, focused on it, made an impact in both rounds, okay? Even though the Knicks were on the losing end against the Miami Heat, he still had some solid games against Miami. And to think that, and this is just a little side tangent, to think that he was successful without really adding anything really to his game, that's impressive. That's why you look at him, like the mentality, the focus, the desire to win. He's a solid player, man. I want to see him be more consistent next season. He's obviously got to add more to his game, but that's where you say, oh, okay, let's keep him around another year. Hopefully he does. But for a guy who can stay out of trouble, focus on the game itself, that's what you look for out of a player. That's when you talk about building a culture. You know, who's your leaders? Who are your leaders? Who's setting the example for the rest of the team? You look at Ja, that's not setting an example. Yeah. You're allowing your off-court issues to be the headlines, to take away from what you're doing on the court, and to be there for your team. You look at Zion, you know, weight is always an issue. Fitness. Now you have this. Like, this is even like the worst part of it. This is just more gossip than anything else. Doesn't really impact him on the court. But when you hear about his weight, injury history, staying in shape, that's what you're looking for from a leader who you drafted first overall. Yeah. You're looking for him to help you take to the playoffs, because with him, he makes that team go, right? So when you look at both of those guys, see where they're at, as a Knicks fan, you got to be happy with RJ Barrett because he showed up in the playoffs, man. Yeah. I get all the up and down nature of his game. But if you have someone like that setting an example and being part of the culture that the New York Knicks are trying to have, which is you're gritty, you get your work done, you work out, all of that. You say the right things. You show up to the post game, win or lose. He stays cool, calm, and collected. Right? Like, yeah, you see him have a little frustration with whether it was Berman or anyone, and give a little comments, a little attitude here and there. But you can understand that when you get ask some of those questions, especially on a night-to-night basis, and some of them just seem off base. But the fact that he's there shows that that's a leader that you can get behind, and B, that you can have as a team. And not necessarily all leaders don't have to be the greatest player, right? Yeah. You know, some of the leaders that they talk about are guys who are
Udonis has players. You're looking at Udonis has him.
Yeah. Yeah, you look at Haslam. Look at Derrick Rose at this point. Yeah. Derrick Rose is a leader. He's not playing every single game, okay? Former MVP, knows what it's like to be around the league. So for RJ, he doesn't have to be the superstar that Ja and Zion are. And these are where it's like, when people talk about how do you build a team and what qualities you look for, a lot of the soft factors that RJ have, you really have to consider that you don't want to give up on. I remember having a conversation with our guy, Pee Wee the Plug, and it's like, would you trade RJ for Brandon Ingram straight up? Obviously, the talent for BI is through the roof, right? Mm-hmm. But my thing was like, it's hard for me to answer that because for a team that's rebuilding, I have to look at like the mental factor and the soft factors. Talent for talent, it's BI all the way. Right. But when you're building a team, you have to keep those into consideration. It's very hard to say that because of where you drafted him, what he can do. It's not saying I want to do a trade like that. I'm just saying it's tough to think about because you have to think of those soft factors.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And it just goes to show you that the draft is not an exact science. Right, because there's so many things that you have to factor in. It's not just talent, it's not just skill set, it's not just fit, it's not just future development. Is there a ceiling? How high a ceiling? How does he feel mentally? How is he doing physically? Is this the right city for him? Does he have the right team around him? Do we have the right team as an organization, a framework, an infrastructure to make sure that this player is the best that he can be? There's so much, and you just don't know. You just don't know. And, just as a sidebar, even look at this 2016 draft that Jamal Murray was in. Ben Simmons went first. Who knows if he ever gets his career back? All the hype that came with that. You had Ingram, you had Brown, great players. Dragan Bender was 4th. Chris Dunn, 5th. Buddy, 6th. And Buddy's, is a good player, good role player, not a star by any means. Jamal Murray, 7th. Sabonis, 11th. Who in between Jamal Murray and Sabonis was Marquise Chris, Jakob Poeltl, Thon Maker. Two of the 3 not even in the league right now. Or is Marquise Chris? I don't think Marquise Chris is still in the league, but two of the 3 I think are not in the league. And then you have Sabonis. So, you just never know, man. But like I said, with the Knicks, you just have to be encouraged. Yes, obviously, as you said, he needs to work on his game, but the work ethic is there. In between games 2 and 3 of the Cavs series where he struggled, he's working with Drew Hanlon. Me and you walked into Drew Hanlon at MSG at game 4. I had dinner with members of RJ's team, and they told me, and this is coming from them, take it for what it is, but they told me that, he's not into partying, he's not into extracurriculars, he's into working on his game. So we'll see. We'll see how it translates. Definitely like how he finished the playoffs. So we'll see where it goes from there. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. The NBA Report live and direct. CP the franchise, Al Shataros on the 1s and 2s. Al, name a random. This is the random Friday topic, man. Name a random 20 points per game scorer, man. Who rings off your bat? Who rings off in your head when you think of a random 20 point per game scorer? Not necessarily an all-star, but guys that would just get you some buckets in the league, man.
Good name. And I'm going to tie it back to actually our last segment. Yeah. His name is Danny Granger.
The Lone Ranger, as they called him in the Indiana Pacers. Good player. New Mexico. Los Lobos. Danny Granger.
He was a one-time All-Star in Indiana in 08-09. And just to tie it back, when he was on his last, running out of steam, and they traded him for Evan Turner, you read anything about those Pacer teams, Paul George talks about it. You lost a solid leader in that locker room, man.
Yeah.
David West wasn't happy about it. A lot of guys weren't happy about it. So even though he wasn't contributing, that's just to say guys like that, and it goes back to RJ. RJ can still play. He still has some years ahead of him. He's very young, but locker room chemistry is very important. Very important. And you don't have to be a leader that's on the court just making, 20 points per game. Yeah. Dude wasn't even doing that towards the end of his career with Indiana.
True.
But yeah, man, Danny Granger, guy who was just solid all around player. Could shoot the 3-ball well. Nothing too flashy about his game, just solid overall player out in Indiana.
Solid. I thought he was solid. Now, a lot of people put Kevin Martin. That was a big one. Kevin Martin with his crooked shot, but he'd kill you. Every team he went on, from the Timberwolves to the Rockets, Kevin Martin was a bucket. He would get it popping in the league. Never made the All-Star team, and he was a bucket. I thought Kevin Martin was a good one. I had Al Jefferson.
Ooh,
he was a walking double-double, 20-point double-double. I mean, Celtics did what they had to do to trade him to get KG and win the chip. But Al Jefferson was a menace in the paint. Absolute menace. I had Al Jefferson and another guy I thought of. He didn't hit 20 points per game, but he came pretty close in a couple of years. How about John Salmons?
Ooh.
John Salmons could get you a bucket. His best season was, I believe, 09 and 10 with the Bucks. And he was at 19.9, I think, points per game. He came close. But John Salmons was a good one. Terrell Brandon. Great point guard.
I'll give that to you. 19.9, I'll give that to you.
Yeah. Great point guard. Terrell Brandon, great point guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers. His 2 All-Star seasons with the Cavs, he came close to 20 points per game. Derailed by injuries. Now, I'm looking at this one by Complex Sports, who had this list. They put Baron Davis in there. He's not a random. Like, BD was not a random.
He ain't random.
BD's far from random. Far from random. No. They got Rashard Lewis in here, the Leaf. Remember when Rashard Lewis got the bag?
I remember,
from the
yeah.
Magic?
He was a two-time All-Star. He did that with Seattle.
Yeah, I don't necessarily see Rashard Lewis as a random. Like, him and Ray Allen was cooking with Seattle, and then he wanted to be his own guy. He went to Orlando and kind of flamed out from there. Ended up winning a chip on that Heat team with Wade and Shaq.
Here's a random guy.
Okay.
Brandon Knight.
Oh, that's a good one. Did he average 20? Did he get 20 at any point?
Close, 19.6.
Okay, that's a good one.
Close. If we're rounding up, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
He was very close.
Yeah.
Very close to averaging 20. He did that with Phoenix back in 2015, 2016.
They got Darren Williams on this list, definitely far from random.
He's not random.
He was a star. Darren Williams was a star. He's not random. Jabari Parker, everybody's favorite random player that they want to put on a particular team. Oh, I mean, but Jabari Parker, what was he? Number 2 pick?
Yeah.
He turned into a random because he flopped. He didn't meet expectations.
Let's see. How about... Let me just make sure.
Yeah.
How about Antoine Jamison?
Not a random. Far from
random?
Yeah, far from random.
Okay.
Remember Jamison and Vince Carter got traded for each other. The two UNC teammates and friends.
Okay.
I wouldn't put James. What do you guys think in the chat? I wouldn't put Jameson as a random. I wouldn't put him random.
Okay.
He was a great player. I thought he was a really good player.
Okay.
I feel like Jameson kind of plays that like hybrid 4 that you're looking for now. Like, if you're not just going to be a complete stretch big, I like Jameson's game. I thought Jameson was a good baller, man. Yeah,
good baller. I guess I'm just thinking about like not a lot of success in the playoffs.
Yeah, no.
Not a lot of guys who like. I guess at this point, it would be random to me just for how far you're going back to think about somebody who's scoring 20 points per game. Okay, you want a random one?
Yeah.
Kelly Oubre.
He averaged 20
this season.
Oh man! Well, he did have a good year this year. He did have a good year. I didn't know he averaged 20 points per game this year. He had a good year.
Is that something random?
90 seconds.
Oh, that's very yeah. That'll do it. That's definitely a random one. That's definitely
he averaged 20.3 points this season.
Wow.
In Charlotte.
Okay, there you go, Kelly Oubre. Let's see what the chat has to say. Tyreek Evans. Do you put him random?
I'll give him random just because. I'll give it random just because I like Tyreek Evans too.
So did I.
Remember that whole battle between it was Tyreek Evans and Lance Stevenson?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Man.
Tyreek was a problem, man. He was a problem. Yeah. I wish he was still in the league, man. I don't know what happened. I think he went over to either Puerto Rico or Taiwan. I think he's killing in Puerto Rico, I think. Let's see who else. Jock Duran in the chat says Michael Redd. Do you put Michael Redd in the random? I don't think so. He was an Olympian.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily put him random.
No, I wouldn't put him as a random.
And he came out of Ohio State with a lot of expectations.
Mm-hmm.
He was a bucket. Mm-hmm. He was a gun. Who else?
Let's see.
Gotcha opens as Alex English. No, he's a Hall of Famer, man. I wouldn't put Alex English there. Monte Ellis.
Is he random?
Only reason you put him in the random was because he was just on so many of those bad Warriors teams. As the only person really getting busy.
And he was on like those underperforming Pacer teams.
Right.
He was on the Mavs.
Right. No, I wouldn't go there. Gotcha Open says Glenn Big Dog Robinson. No, he was the number 1 pick, 94. Big Dog used to get it popping. Purdue, Boilermaker.
Terry Rozier, is that random?
Yes. Scary Terry, yeah.
He did it twice.
Larry
twice. Both
Hughes.
in Charlotte.
Larry Hughes. Oh, we got to get Larry Hughes on Knicks Fan TV. He was a hooper. Larry Hughes was a problem. St. Louis. Remember when they paired up Larry Hughes and AI in Philly? That was supposed to be the next tandem.
Okay. How about this one? He didn't average 20, just missed it by 19.1.
Who?
Our guy.
Yeah.
He was a Knick for 1 season, or half a season. Brandon Jennings.
Do you put Jennings in the random category?
I think it is random, man.
He dropped a 50-piece. But he came in with so much fanfare, you know? He skipped college. That was a big thing. He went overseas.
Yep.
You guys in the chat, you put Brandon Jennings in the random? I guess.
He had such a short career, man.
Yeah, I guess.
Such a short career.
He's borderline. I put him on a borderline.
Okay.
I put him on a borderline. Yeah. Interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff. Somebody in the chat said Zebo. See, I don't really put Zebo as a random. He had some great years with Memphis. He had all-star years with Memphis. He was a good Knick. I like Zebo in the Knicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Young Kobe says, nah, Brandon was a beast at one time.
I don't know. That's why I say he's kind of like borderline for me.
Let me tell you, I was hyped when he came to the Knicks, man. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
We have Derrick Rose. We have Brandon Jennings come off the bench.
That was a super team.
Super team,
and
man.
they were super at nothing. Probably one of the worst teams ever put together. Thanks, Phil, and make him play the triangle. Thank you. It's a great idea.
What's funny is that they did play Boston in a preseason game. I went to that game out here.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, we doing this work on Boston. I'm like, this team's good. Oh, yeah, let's go. Nope. Not one bit.
Man, oh, man. Well, great show, Al. Great show. Great show to all the mods. Great show to everybody that tapped in on the chat. We'll be back for postgame. Game 4 of the NBA Finals, man. Heat versus Nuggets. We'll be back for postgame, so tap into that on the NBA Report. Salute to everybody in the chat who tapped in with us. Like, share, subscribe. Very important for us. We appreciate everybody for tapping in. Al, what are you doing this weekend, man? Any plans this weekend?
Yeah, check, man. I got nothing really planned this weekend. Although I've been playing Legend of Zelda in my spare time.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, the new Legend of Zelda.
What's that on? Is that on like
Nintendo Switch?
Nintendo Switch.
You're too old for that, man. You're too old for hear about Nintendo Switch.
I'm too old. I went to little man's preschool graduation. I saw it. The after party they had. The
congratulations!
Switch. I'm like, what are you supposed to do with this thing? The thing looks so small. Like, what are you supposed to do with it? I looked at it. I was like, yeah, I'm retired. I'm retired, man. I think I'm gonna.
You don't know Yu-Gi-Oh. You don't watch Dragon Ball Z. What do you go back to? Atari? Is that the last game you played, man?
So the Xbox is downstairs collecting dust. I don't know. I would really like to come out of retirement and get back on my Call of Duty, get my dog tags back, if you will. I don't know, man. I don't know if I still got it, man. You know, I might try it out. I might go get a new system, go get the new 2K, and go get the Call of Duty. And got you open, man. I might have to go through some training, retraining. You know what I mean? Yeah. Lash,
you got to come through. Lash, TM, we got to help our guy out here and get back on the video game system. This guy is missing.
I'm lost, man. I'm lost. I don't know. I gotta get back into it. Kobe says new Spider-Man. New Spider-Man game is fire. Got you open says Diablo 4. I had Diablo 2, I think, for PC though. But Diablo was a good one.
You played Diablo in real life in New York City the other day.
That's right. They said the new Street Fighter 6 is fire though. Yeah, they said the new Street Fighter 6 is fire. Almighty Finesse said there's new Mortal Kombat. They're remaking Mortal Kombat and bringing it back out. So we'll see what's up with that.
I know Gambit's out there playing Final Fantasy at some point.
Hey, I never played that. Ever. Never played one.
Nah. TM says you got to get Alex and CP a Warzone. Man, I'm playing Warzone right now, man. I got some wins.
Oh, yeah. I might have to see what's up. It is summertime. It is the off season, man. So I got to see what's up, man. But the NBA Report is live and popping. We had Jamal Crawford on the show previewing Heat and Nuggets Game 4. We talked about some of the off season rumors. We talked about the 2019 draft class and some of our random 20-point per game scores, man. Great show. Great show, man. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Number one show for the fans by the fans. And remember that this show is available in audio podcast format, so no reason to miss it. You can catch it on all the major podcast platforms. The links are in the description. Great show, man. Have a great weekend, everybody. Peace.